you? Good to see you, to have you again. Welcome back to this YouTube channel. I am so excited to have you. Thank you for having my back and for always coming in to check. I hope uko poa and uko freshy, just like I am. Yeah, and just a reminder, actually, my book Leading Behind the Reapers is still in the market. If you have not yet ordered your copy, if you have not read it, what does it mean to be a mentor? What does it mean to be a mentee? How do we steward these gifts? And if you want to know my personal story, who is Edna? Where did she come from? How was her childhood, and how are all the people and the mentors that she met along the way? How did they shape her life to be who she is today? It's all answered in this book, and I really love you to have a copy of it. So grab it wherever you are. Just send me a message and I'll be able to send or deliver it wherever you are. Now I want to begin a series of something interesting, something that most of us are still battling in the society. I want to talk about the secret of contentment. I'm gonna be doing 2 or 3 videos on this, and I look forward to us learning, to hearing your opinion of what really contentment is according to you, and just basically how we are to respond as a society to this subject. So the secret of contentment. Have you ever seen people who are contented? Do we have people around us who live contented lives? And interestingly, even have you seen or even have friends within your circle like I do? People who you think they have it all, according to the measure, the societal measure that we have. People who, they're just living the good lives, and the lives that we admire. But somehow these people end up committing, suicide. Yeah. So that is why I wanted to talk about contentment. Does it come with a lot of wealth and accumulation, or are the poor even contented in the first place? Does it come with poverty, or why really, contentment? So the secret of contentment. And contentment is a feeling of satisfaction that every human being desires to have. Everyone wants to, to be contented with whatever they have, or wherever they are. And Paul in the book of Philippians chapter 4 verse 10 to 13 said this: I am not saying that I am in need, for I have learned to be content in whatever circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do everything through him who strengthens me. This is Paul, who is reminding us that he has learned the secret of being content. There's a secret in being contented, and the secret is learned. It does not just come, you have to learn it. So that is why I want us to talk about it, and maybe to just begin, why is it important? Why do we have to learn it? And the first thing is that you realize that you do not deserve anything, from God, or that God gives you, and therefore you rejoice in the small mercies that God gives you. The moment we learn contentment, the moment we realize that, I need to be contented, it's because everything and anything that we get from God, who is very holy, who is very sovereign, and who is the owner of everything, we begin to appreciate it, that we do not deserve it, but these are just small mercies that you receive from God. The second thing is that you enjoy living with others, because you realize that you are not even better than your neighbor. You are no better than anyone. And so this drives you to relate with humility with other people. Why? Because you are contented in knowing who you are, and you are contented living with other people with the way they are, with their weaknesses, with the things that they do differently from you. You are just content with all these things. And number 3, why we need to learn the secret of contentment is you will not live in fear of failing. Why? Because you realize that God is not just a being who is after, or who is waiting for you to fail so that he can punish you. No. And so you start living a life that is of faith, a life that is of boldness, and knowing that God really loves you so much and not waiting for you to fail so that he can punish you. And you actually become quick to repent, rather than just giving excuses. And the fourth reason why we need to learn this secret is you will not live in the past. You accept that God has forgiven you and you move on with life. You accept that God has forgiven you and you take God seriously. So that is why I want us to talk about the secret of contentment. Why should you be contented? What is the secret of contentment? The first secret of contentment is you must have a reason for living. If you will ever live a contented life, you must understand the reason for your life, the reason why you are alive. And I'll take an example of a walking stick. If a walking stick is used to play golf, it will serve the purpose, it will play the game. But at the end of the game, both the player and the stick might not be, not even might, will not be in good shape. Why? Because a walking stick is not meant for playing golf. And similarly, anything that is likely to last long, it has to be used for the purpose with which it was intended. You have to live your life for the purpose which you were intended. Failure to which you will fail at some point. Failure to which things will not be okay. And man's creation is to show God's image. It is to bring God, who is our creator, the glory and the honor. And if we make use of our lives for the reason why we were born, we end up living contented. Sometimes we have discontented lives because we are not living, for the reason that God created us to live. We are living for other reasons which are actually short-lived and temporary. Sometimes we live for good lives, which is okay. We take children to school to study and get those good grades. Maybe you get an A, and after that you go and pursue a course in the university, and you perform well. Maybe we say you become a doctor, and then after becoming a doctor, what next? Maybe you go and specialize in a graduate school and become a consultant, and after that, what next? You marry and have these children and you live a good life. You're a rich consultant. And even after that, what next? Maybe have grandchildren, and after that, what next? We may not admit it, but we are headed to death. Does that motivate us? No, it doesn't. So we must live for the reason why we are created. And the reason is to bring forth and show the glory of God. So to enjoy life, we must do that. And again, also this helps us, to get back to God. The moment things do not go well, it helps us to get back to God, who is the manufacturer of our lives, and let him, because he understands us and he knows us, and God cannot misjudge or misunderstand us. It helps us to get back to him and, let him remold and recreate our lives, because he has the manual. And we miss the point every time we go. Every time we go to those Jokali, Jokalis to make our lives. When I talk about Jokali, I'm talking about the other forms or the other means that we get ourselves into to try and be contented. Some of us it's drugs, some of us it's alcohol, some of us it's overworking, some of us it's addictions, prostitution, and whatever it is that we get into to try and make our lives contented. These things will not help. Our final answer is just in getting to God. The second reason why we need to live contented lives is because God's grace is sufficient. How many times have you been told, believe in yourself, you have to believe in yourself, you got this, you can do it, believe in yourself. While we ourselves, deep within us, we know ourselves better. We know that we can actually fail ourselves, even in times when we have promised that I am not going to fail myself. So we understand, in order for us to be contented, we have to understand that we do not have confidence in our own flesh, but it's the grace of God that we rely on. It's the grace of God that we are dependent on. When you read Philippians chapter 3, from verse 1 to verse 10, Paul makes it very clearly that the greatest mistake that a believer can make is to, depend on their own on their own flesh. And he even gives us an example of himself, who he was, a Hebrew of the Hebrews, born on the eighth day, and all those things that Paul says about himself. He had a reason to put confidence in his flesh, but he wants us from doing this. So it's not just about having confidence in your own self, which we call the power of positive thinking, but it's for us understanding that it's the grace of God that keeps us doing life. For us to live contented lives, for us to live the life that God ordained for us to live, we have to, understand and know that, you know, it's just Him and His grace that can sustain us. And if we try to, by ourselves, to fulfill the reason for our being, we fail terribly, and we always fail terribly. Read Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8, and you just realize that all these things is just by the grace of God. And so, for us to fully please God, we have to be fully dependent on Him. And once we learn this secret, we gain contentment despite our failures and the things that we might do wrong. We gain contentment and knowing that the grace of God holds me. And let me tell you, I don't know, it's just me or everyone. Actually, it's everyone who there's this deep-seated hollow feeling that we always have in ourselves. And Pascal, the great mathematician, summed it and said that every human being has a God-shaped vacuum in their heart that only God can fill. There's that vacuum in you that it's only God who can come through and fill it. So desire and yield yourself to living a contented life. And we have talked about two of the ways of living a contented life. Number one, we have said that you must live for the reason with which for which you are created. And number two, understand that the grace of God is sufficient despite your weaknesses. I'm gonna continue on this. I look forward to us learning and us having a good opportunity to grow and even develop contentment, learn the secret of contentment. And even in this world whereby everything is chasing us and calling us to accumulate and have much and be discontented with what we have, our Heavenly Father calls us to, live contented lives. I pray that this is what we will pursue, even as Christians and even generally as human beings. Until next time, bye bye.